everybody. Sorry for the late upload and for the gross sick voice, but today we will be doing more Create This Book. Opening up to our first prompt, which is to create a page of emotion. Write about, draw, or attach pictures of at least 3 different emotions here. Immediately, I was inspired by, I hope I'm saying this right, an Iratron video that I saw. I'm going into my drawer of random craft utilities in which I keep an iron. It's not hoarding, it's being prepared. So while the iron is heating up, I'm just cutting some circles out of some yellow craft foam. Next, I am laying the yellow circles on the hot surface of the iron, and then when they start to curl up, I am just brushing them off with a pencil. You should have a slightly curled up circular shape. I definitely left them on for too long. Oh well. Next, with a brown paint marker, I am just adding on some facial expressions. I'm also attempting to add highlights with chalk. Next, I'm taking some clear school glue and trying to stick them to the page, but later on we will find out that doesn't really work well. I'm also adding some of the colorful features with puffy paint just to give it more of a pop. So as you can probably tell, I am making emojis. Again, I got this from an Iratron video with a DIY emoji notebook cover, and I've done this method before and it's a lot of fun. After I finished doing the playful and hungry one, I did the happy one with all of the hearts. The hearts didn't come out that well, and it looked more like he had a very demented form of chicken pox. Coincidentally, the crazy face is where things started to go downhill. I tried using a white paint marker to add on the eyeballs, which ended up not working well, even though I tried it in several layers. So I ended up having to use puffy paint, and this is where things started to go downhill. I tried adding the pupils, which I didn't think would be that big of a deal, but it proved to be very difficult. I'm just leaving them be for now and adding on the mouth, and unfortunately using more puffy paint this time for the teeth. Now normally I love working with puffy paint, it's one of my favorite art things to work with, but it just wasn't working out this time for one reason or another. However, I will say that the mouth went a lot better than the eyes did. Honestly, the eyes had me so frustrated that at this point I can really relate to this guy. Now I'm trying to add the tongue, but the puffy paint exploded when I tried to squeeze some paint out, so I just had to spread that blob around and hope that it somewhat resembled a tongue. And then after that I realized that the glue wasn't sticking the foam onto the paper, it was just making a big sticky mess. So as I'm getting progressively angrier, I peeled off the first 2 emojis and carefully set this one aside to dry, and now I'm making one that represents anger. I am so angry right now, I'm not even trying with this one. You don't even get a highlight. Okay, I'm sorry, I might have gone too far. Fine, you get a highlight. But I am still extremely angry. At this point, I'm done messing around. I'm bringing in the ultimate weapon. Once the puffy paint dried, I superglued them onto the paper, and I know you're never supposed to use superglue directly on thin paper, but I just couldn't take it anymore. I realized that I reapplied them in kind of the wrong order, but when I looked at it, it started to make more sense, because this is a progression of how my mood went during this project. At first, I was all, ooh, this is gonna be so fun, I can't wait, I'm so excited, it's gonna look so good! Then I was all, oh no, I made a mistake. It's okay. It's still fun. We're having a good time. This is good. And then I was more like, can this be done now? I mean, it's okay. It could be worse, but I'm so ready for this to be done. But then I was like, meh. I may or may not have accidentally glued my thumb to the paper.
Uh-oh. Owie.
Otherwise, I don't regret the superglue decision. I even added on a ton more. The superglue may have added some stains, but it was still much more convenient, so I don't even care. And to follow my rule by putting a sticker on the page, I found this very appropriate sticker. On to the next prompt, to create patterns. Fill this page with patterns. Pretty self-explanatory. It didn't take me too long to come up with an idea for this. I decided to make my different patterns look like a quilt. So I took a pencil and started trying to draw an outline of a quilt, which proved to be much more difficult than I expected it to be. I tried to eyeball it and make it as even as possible, but that didn't end up going well. Then I took out a ruler and drew out some lines to the length of my liking. But then, as I was measuring out the lines to try and divide it evenly into 4 sections, I realized the line was 7.5 inches long, and 7.5 divided by 4 is... math, and I don't have time for that. So I drew a new line that was a better length for dividing it into fourths. But for the life of me, even with the help of a ruler, I cannot draw straight lines, so the rectangle ended up being very disproportionate, and when it was divided, it was too small anyway to fit any patterns in it. I just decided that I would come back to that issue later, and in the meantime, I'd flip through some magazines to look for patterns I like. But I could not find a darn thing.
3 days later.
After sitting on it for about 3 days and a very welcomed dot interruption, I finally got an idea. I took a sheet of paper, traced the page onto it so it was the right size, and then I folded it. I then cut out the folded pieces so they would roughly be the same size of the book once they were all put down together, which I later found out did not work at all. Anyway, the idea was to draw patterns onto each of these squares. For my first pattern, I thought I would try hand drawing tie-dye for the very first time with my brand new markers. It did take a very long time, much longer than I had expected it to, and it was really frustrating, but it was also kind of satisfying to see it all come together. But seriously though, I can't stress enough how long this took me. Everyone makes it look so easy and quick, but I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it took a very long time. I decided to go with rainbow tie-dye, and I started with the purple because I thought that when I did the red, it would be on the very outside, so it would look like it was going in the order of the rainbow, so I did that on purpose. Calm down. I was very pleased to see that my yellow marker didn't pick up any color contamination. At this point, I could not believe how long it was taking me, and I was considering giving up halfway through, but then I realized I was really close to finishing it anyway, so I might as well stick through to the end and at least see if I liked the result. And for the most part, I really did. I mean, it's not perfect, and I'm sure I did something wrong, but I mean, for my first time, I'm pretty proud of it. So I was pretty tired out from doing the tie-dye, so I decided to go with something simple but still cute, and you can probably tell by looking at it, it is a cow pattern. It doesn't exactly go well with rainbow tie-dye, but I thought the black and white might contrast nicely anyway. And even though it's not the most colorful thing, it's still pretty fun to look at. You guys can probably tell that I was getting lazy, so for the next pattern I just did rainbow sprinkles. And not only was I feeling lazy, but I was also struggling really badly with coming up with the patterns to do, so I was totally fine with just doing whatever idea popped into my head first. What can I say? I'm not very creative. For this next pattern, I have so many regrets. I wanted to do the buffalo check plaid, or whatever they call it, because I've always really liked that design. But I messed up the lines so badly that I ended up flipping over the square and restarting completely, and the black ink bled through because it was already wet from the marker. So at this point, it was kind of a lost cause, but again, I was struggling to come up with ideas, so I was just gonna take whichever side looked the best and shamefully display it on the page. About halfway through, I decided to use a reference picture, so that could have to do with how horribly it turned out. For my next pattern, I was going back to black and white, and I wanted to do a paw print pattern, but as you can see, I can't draw those. So I went on to Google, and I found a paw print pattern and traced that because I'm a cheater and I suck at art. Thankfully, after tracing them, they turned out pretty cute, so I was happy with them. For the last pattern, I was gonna do some teal zigzags, but they looked like garbage, so I thought I'd go with something more exciting. I went with a strawberry frosted donut with sprinkles. At this point, I guess that's pretty generic because I'm seeing that pattern on everything, and I don't know if it's popular because of The Simpsons or some band I don't know about. I don't know. But there is something about them that's just aesthetically pleasing. And while I do enjoy drawing them, they're not even my favorite donut. I enjoy them, but I think my favorite donut would have to be Boston cream. Tell me in the comments what your favorite donut is. After I finished that catastrophe of a wannabe quilt, I moved on to the final pattern. I wanted to go for the pattern that is on Patrick Starr's pants. For some reason, this was a really hard pattern to draw, and I think it's because the flowers weren't supposed to be perfect. They're all kind of wonky in their own way. Or again, maybe it's just because I suck at drawing. Anyway, I thought maybe this pattern would be bright and colorful enough to make up for the laziness of the black and white ones I chose to do, and I thought it would just be something fun because it's recognizable and it's from a fun character and it'll fill up the page so it won't be boring and plain. At first I wasn't sure about how it was looking, but once I started coloring in the flowers, that really brought it to life, and I was very happy that I decided to go with this idea. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to end the video here. I know I usually try to do 3 entries with Create This Book, but this video is already late enough as it is, and I just want to get it uploaded. I'm sorry for the long break that I took. I hope everyone's doing well, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!